What type of regulatory certification are there? Nadine, our chemist and compliance officer at Diatomic, has an important lesson to share regarding the various certifications available in regulatory affairs. Take advantage of this opportunity to learn for free.
Hi there. So at this stage, you might be asking, what type of certifications are there? What should I be looking out for? Well, the first thing that you need to know is that certifications are based on directives, legislations, or acts. Remember the ones I mentioned earlier? The General Product Safety Directive in the EU or the Consumer Product Safety Act in the US? Different countries have different standards which need to be met to be able to classify the product as safe to import and to bring it onto the market. I know this sounds easy, but trust me, this is really the case. For example, there are many directives under the GPSD legislation in the EU. These are the CE, the RoHs, REACH, LBD, EMC, and many more. So what this basically means is that for each product or each category, there are further subcategories that have directives which tell you exactly what a product needs. But don't cry just yet. I'll get into each of these and will explain what each of them mean. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You go onto Google and you start searching for something like, what are the importing requirements for biocidal products? You find a page where you have a PDF with about 500 pages and you start to read through it and your brain starts melting. After reading it, you're even more confused than you were when you started, and you don't really even understand what plan of action you need to fulfill the law or what the requirement is. With this course, I'll get rid of some of the guesswork and help you understand. By the time you're done, you will no longer fear regulations and directives. This might be boring, but it's important to understand these requirements now so that later on, when you have more products, the whole certification process will be like second nature to you and you'll be able to get through it with ease. So let's get into the type of certificates available. Like I mentioned before, countries have different requirements. Each directive may have a legislation or an act which is governed by the government or the agencies of the government. The actual testing certification might be done by a third-party laboratory which is accredited by the government, and you might not be able to get a certification or test report back. For example, the RoHs directive, which is under the GPSD legislation, says that a product must be tested on the percentage of chemical compound which is in the raw material of the final product. So take any electrical product. The government tells you under the RoHs directive that there is a restriction on the amount of lead or cadmium within a product. Your supplier will have to prove that they can comply with this rule. So in order to do this, they will use a third-party laboratory. After the testing has been completed, you get a certificate that says that the product fulfills the RoHs requirement. That being said, there are actually 3 different types of certifications that you will most likely deal with when trying to export your products. These are certifications that are required by law, as in you won't be allowed to import into a country if you don't have these. There are the good to have certifications, which, as you might be able to guess, are good to have but not necessary. And then there are the certifications that are recommended, like your UL mark, which is a quality and safety seal in the US. These will increase trust and legitimacy, but are not necessary. So that's our 3 broad categories of certifications, and most countries have certifications that fall into these 3 categories. Are you ready to hear a bit more about them? Then let's get into it in the next few chapters.